Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to the course code Eng455. Today is lecture number 11. As you can see that today's our major focus is on syntax. We will start with the syntax today. But before that, I would like to discuss what we have done so far. Actually, from last few weeks, we are focusing the levels of language. As you know, we have done so far phonology, phonetics, and morphology. Phonetics as the study of human speech sounds, phonology as the study of human speech sounds with respect to a certain language, and then morphology about words. Today's our lecture would be based on actually more syntax. What is syntax? Because we are moving from the level of morphology to syntax, so I would like here to make it clear that actually the morphology and syntax, they are almost adjacent to each other. Syntax is just a next level to morphology. In morphology, we were concerned about the study of internal composition of words, how words are formed, what are the patterns according to which the words they get their shape as well as their meaning. It was all about the concern of morphology. Now when these words, whether they are the function words or content words, when these words they are arranged and combined at different levels to create phrases, clauses or sentences, then such study which deals with the study of phrases, clauses and sentences is known as the syntax. So it means we have the bits, that's our words, which are studied in morphology, and when we arrange that bits in certain patterns or in certain orders, then we get certain phrases, clauses or sentences, and study of those phrases and sentences is known as syntax. So syntax is all about words, but with respect to their arrangement and composition within a phrase or sentence. For example, look at these individual words. As with respect to morphological study, we can say that lady and shoes, these are the nouns, the lexical items, or we have called them content words, like red is adjective, a content word, buying, verb, it is again a content word, and the article is a function word. But when we combine them all these words together, we make a sentence, that is, the lady was buying red shoes. Now this is a sentence made up of that individual bits of information called words. So when words are arranged in certain order to create phrase or sentences, then the study of those arrangement of words or those patterning of words in certain sequence to make phrases or sentences is known as syntax. Syntax is concerned with combination of words, with combination and arrangement of words in certain sequences. If syntax is the way words and clauses are arranged to make sentences, then etymological nature of the word syntax tells us that syntax word is made up of two morphemes, sen and tax. Sen is a Latin word which means together, and tax is a Greek word which means to put in order. So if I gather the meaning of these two chunks, then what I get as syntax is putting things together in an orderly manner. That is called syntax according to Prasad, page number 73, that when we put certain things in certain order and then study them, then such study is known as the syntax. We have some more definitions, some more valid definitions of syntax. What syntax is actually? Syntax means construction. Means a sentence. With the help of the syntax knowledge, we are concerned about the sentence construction, how the sentences they are constructed, how they are developed to create certain meanings. And further, because within sentences there are words, there are phrases. So actually this is the way the words group, they are together to make phrases and sentences. Because words at initial level, they are combined to create phrases, and at next level the phrases get the form of clauses, and lastly these clauses, they make the sentences. Though syntax is all about the study of words arrangement in the form of phrases, clauses and sentences. Another definition by Fromkin is that the part of grammar that represents a speaker's knowledge of sentences and their structures is called syntax. So according to Fromkin definition, syntax is all about sentences, how the sentences they are formed, how they are created, and how they are arranged in certain sequence to get certain meanings. Now, I would like to make it clear over here that sentences, for sentences we have some definition. Sentences does not mean to create a combination of words following certain grammatical rules, but actually the sentences should have to follow two rules, that it should have certain grammatical features as well as it should convey certain meanings. So this way the combination of sentences and the combination of words in grammatical order plus creating a meaning, thus making sentences, is known as syntax. Now we can call it syntax shortly as the study of structure of sentences, whereas morphology was the study of structure of words. In syntax, we are concerned with the structure of sentences, how sentences they are made, how they are how the words are combined to make sentences, what are the arrangement of different items within sentences. The syntax of English, because we are talking about with respect to particular English language, then in syntax of English, the third level of grammar and the third level of analysis. As I told you, at the first level we have the sound analysis, that is known as the phonological analysis. Then at the second level we were having the morphological analysis, and at third level we have the syntax analysis. So this is the third level of analysis, and grammar as well deals with the more complex combination of linguistic forms. As you remember, that in phonology we were just combining that there are different human speech sound, and with respect to certain languages we divide them into different categories, and then these sounds bits, they were the simplest form and they were studied and they were categorized as vowels and consonants and diphthongs and triphthongs. At morphological level, these sound, these phonemic patterns, they were combined to create the morphemes and further the words. So they were a bit complicated than the phonemic ideas, but mean less complicated than the sentence idea. Sentence idea is a bit more complex idea, because in sentence we actually construct, arrange the words and the chunks of the sounds plus the morphemes in certain patterns to follow certain grammatical rules, at the same time to create certain meanings. According to Herndon 1999, identification of a word class is not then a matter of what do these words mean, but how they fit into a pattern. Because once we identify these words, that okay, these groups of words, there are certain words which are called nouns, there are certain classes which are known as adjectives, and there are classes of verbs. So we have that linguistic knowledge about that individual words, but our actual knowledge of language means us, wants us to arrange those words to get certain sentences. So because how these words they fit in to make certain patterns, to develop certain sentences, and further that what forms will they take. because when these words they are gathered to make sentences, they occupy certain forms, whether they would take active form, whether they would take passive form, according to our context, according to the demand of the context, what form we will use, whether we will use the questions, whether we will use an exclamatory sentences. I mean, a lot of types of sentences are there, and we need to make it clear that what forms will serve our purpose. So this way, this knowledge, it becomes more complex than the previous levels of language. And finally, the more important thing is, how do they behave in combination with other forms? When we use different forms of words and then arrange them, then after making choice, the next step is, what do we expect them to do? What is the result that we want to get out of that form, and how in that forms they would like to behave with the other forms? For example, I know that in negative sentences for present indefinite tense, if the subject is a singular one, then we have to use with does, and when we use does, we have to remove s with the verb, that he does not like mangoes, so does and like. But if it is a plural subject, then we add, instead of does, we use do. We do not like mangoes. So this way, according to the different structures, according to the nature of the purpose we want to convey, we arrange, we use these words in different forms. At the same time, because of these forms, there are the other changes as well. For example, she has a cat. But if I have to choose they, then they have a cat. And if I want to make it plural, it is a cat. Singular, it is a cat. But if I want to make plural, these are cats. Now, not only the cat is changed into plural, but is also changed into are, it is also changed into these. So a lot of one form changes, and the other forms, they also changes with respect to, in relation to these forms. So this way, this kind of study about the nature, about the behavior, about the formation, about the patterning and structure of sentences is known as syntax. So our focus would be syntax. Now here I would like to make clear that some people, they consider that the knowledge of syntax is all just like the knowledge of grammar, because in grammar we study about rules, that how to arrange words, how to, for a present indefinite tense or a present continuous tense or past continuous tense, what kind of structure is there, what are singular plurals, and what are the different, so many things are there which we study in grammar. And similarly in syntax, because we are concerned with the structuring of sentences, so some people, they try to mislead that actually the study of syntax is almost like the study of grammar, but actually not. Syntax is something different from the grammar. Syntax, we can call syntax as a different form of grammar because it is actually a part of a grammar. Now in grammar, we are concerned with a lot of things. We are concerned with organizing, all the organizing, not only one or two, but actually all the organizing principles of language. Now whether these are the organizing principles for sound system, whether these are the organizing system for forming words or sentences, it is all about grammar. But in syntax, we are focusing on actually only one aspect of grammar. That is the arrangement of words to make sentences. So this way we can say that grammar, it is a whole, and syntax is a part of that knowledge. Grammar is a combination of lot of varieties of knowledge types, like it concludes all types of guiding principles. But whereas syntax is about only one type of guiding principles, that is related to syntax, that is related to sentences. So this way syntax is different from grammar. Now another question is that when we want to have the study of syntax, so why this study is important? Why we should have to learn this syntax? Why we should have, as a linguist, we should have the knowledge of syntax? So why in other words, why syntax is important? Number one, we speak in sentences, not words. To understand the structure of a language, it is necessary to study the structure of sentences. Obviously, I do not use the words to convey my thoughts. When I am writing a paragraph, I am not using words to make that paragraph. Actually, I am using the combination of words called sentences. So actually, these are the sentences which communicate, which help us to communicate, which express our ideas, which express our thoughts, and which makes our language meaningful. The only using the chunks of words would not be enough. For example, if I want to say that today is hot weather, then saying only to a listener, hot. Now I'm not communicating any meaning, because the listener is not getting that this word hot is referring to what? I am feeling hot, the weather is hot, there is something hot around me, or I have a hot cup of tea, or I want a hot cup of coffee. What is this word hot means? The context does not get clear until and unless I use a whole combination of words to say today the weather is hot. So this way, actually, these are the sentences that communicate our ideas, that communicate meanings and makes our language more meaningful. So to understand a language, we need to have the knowledge of the syntax of that language. At second place, if we learn to analyze the structure of sentences, we will also learn to analyze their meanings. If I know that what these different words within the sentences, what are their roles, whether they are subject, whether they are verbs, whether they are objects, whether they are making noun phrases or verb phrases or whatever they are, according to their places within the sentence, I can identify. I can identify their meaning. For example, if something is coming at the beginning of a sentence, my knowledge would tell me that this is going to be the subject of the sentence. Something as ing with ing or s form or standing in between is, according to my knowledge of language, it would be a verb or verb phrase. So this way, when I learn to analyze sentences, I can have the knowledge about the meanings of these language. At third level, the study of syntax is the study of function of words. How do these words, they actually work within the structure of sentences, which is necessary to understand the structure and meaning of a language. For example, I know watch is a verb. Watch is a verb category, but until and unless I do not know what is its function, the function can be only and only perceived when I will use this word watch inside the sentence, because there can be an ambiguity in the minds of the listeners that this watch can be a wristwatch, or this watch can be something you are watching or an action. When I would use it inside a sentence that I am having a red watch, or I can say that I'm watching television. Now, according to the sentences, if the person would listen to the first sentence, I'm having a red watch, then according to its position, the position of the word watch inside the sentence, he can make it, he can judge it that this watch is actually a noun. so he can estimate the function of this word. But if I am using it, the children watch TV. So now if I give this sentence after the analysis of the sentence, because watch is at verb place, at action place, so it means it involves some activity, and this watch means to see something, to see something by using your eyes or by using any instrument. So this way, by getting the knowledge of syntax, we get actually what the different words, what kind of functions they have inside the sentences. So in these ways, the knowledge of syntax, it is helpful to learn and to know more about language with respect to not only words but also the sentences. And in first next step, with the help of those words and sentences, to make and to get meanings. Now, with respect to syntax, there are certain rules. In English language, there are certain rules to make sentences. Now our question is, why these rules are made? I mean, actually, what the rules of syntax do? What is their function? Why we need to have these rules of syntax? Because if you know that sentences, when the words are arranged in the form of sentences, there are certain rules that we have to follow. We have to follow like the word order, like we can use a subject, verb, object order in English language. So these rules, they help us to know, they help us to get certain meaning with respect to that language. So now we will study what these syntax rules or the formation rules of sentences, how they help us. Number one, these syntax rules, they help us to combine words into phrases and phrases into sentences. With the help of these rules, we can know that what is a phrase, how with the help of certain words I can make phrase, and how I can arrange these phrases in a structure to get a sentence. For example, these are two phrases, a girl in the garden. These are two phrases, and when I use these phrases in a sentence, I have to use it like this: I saw a girl in the garden. I observed a girl in the garden. A girl was playing in the garden. A girl was walking in the garden. A girl was collecting flowers in the garden. So this way we have phrases, and I, with the knowledge of the sentences, the knowledge of the syntax, it tells me how to arrange these words in the phrases forms and how to arrange these phrases to make sentences. I cannot say, in the garden I saw a girl. In the garden a girl I saw, because they are being somehow, they are communicating some information, but according to English grammar, according to English rules, syntax rules, these are the wrong sentences. Now what these syntax rules else do? Number two, these syntax rules or the sentence formation rules, they help us to specify correct word order. As you know, for English language, the correct word order is subject, verb, object. So if I am making a sentence in English, I have to keep in mind this correct word order, and the word and the only sentence that would be accepted as the correct sentence would be the one which would follow this word order. Now look at these two examples. Sarah ate chocolates. Subject, verb, object, correct order, so correct sentence. But look at the second sentence, chocolates ate Sarah. I mean, automatically, as with having the knowledge of English language, I come to know that this second sentence, it is a wrong, because now chocolates is an object. It is something which is inanimate and which cannot do any physical action. So this way I can assume that this chocolates ate Sarah is a wrong order. Actually, the order that I'm using here is actually object, verb and subject. So this order is wrong with respect to English language. So I have to use the correct word order to make sense, to make the correct English sentences. Number 3, the syntax rules, they describe relationships between meanings of a particular group of words and the arrangement of those words. Mean when a combination of words, they are arranged in different ways, the meanings gets changed. One thing but said in 2 different ways totally changes the meaning. For example, he burps, what he means. He means what he burps. Now the same words, the total same words are used, but where their arrangement has changed the meaning. The first sentence is actually means something else, and the second sentence it means something else. He burps, what he means. Actually mean he always keeps on saying some things which actually he means. So what we are taking him that he's burping, it is not actually burping, he means that. So we should take that person as seriously. And secondly, he means what he burps. So whatever he is keep on burping, and what he is keep on saying in a non-serious way, he sometimes means that. So by changing the order, we change the meanings of these sentences. At the 4th level, these syntax rules, they specify the grammatical relations of a sentence. Yes. If you know the grammatical relations, like the subject, direct object, indirect object, and mean, they make us it clear to us that who is doing what and who is doing what to whom. Mean the subject position tells us that whatever is at subject place, he is the doer of the action. Whatever is the object of the sentence, he is receiving that action. So by getting these different places knowledge, we can get the meaningful data. This information is crucial in understanding the meanings of a sentence. For example, my dog chased your cat. Now here I mean that my dog is actually the doer of that action, and the victim of the action is your cat. But look at the second sentence, your cat chased my dog. Now by changing the subject object position, the environment is totally changed now. Now victim is my dog and the doer of the action is your cat. So this way, this knowledge, it helps us to understand the meaning of a sentence. And lastly, these syntax rules, they specify other constraints that sentences must adhere to. Mean they make it clear to the speakers of a certain language that to make certain sentences, what are the things which are required. Mean what are the rules which I must follow in order to make the correct sentences. For example, the boy found. Now according to my little knowledge of English language, I know that subject and verb, together they make the simplest form of sentences. But over here I have the subject, but I have the verb that is found. But still the sentence does not seem to be correct. What is the thing that is wrong with it? Yes, found is actually a kind of verb which needs an object, because it needs an object to convey its meaning. So now what that object can be? If at that object place, if I need something after a verb like found, then I can put like the boy found quickly. Again the wrong one, because still quickly can be used, but quickly is not again giving the specific meaning, not making it clear that actually the verb found, it needs something else. Now the boy found the ball. Now this is the correct, because I know that the ball is the correct object with respect to verb found. So this way, our syntax rules, they help us to know that what are the things that are required in order to make complete sentences and meaningful sentences. Take another example, like she slept the baby. Now, I can say that sleeping is a verb, and I mean that she is making the baby to sleep. But my knowledge tells me that she slept. Slept is some type of verb that or kind of verb over here in this sentence, which does not need an object, rather it needs an adverb. An adverb would be more suitable. So she slept soundly. It would be a more logical and correct sentence than the other one. So this way, this syntax knowledge, it helps us to know that what are the things which should be there in order to make the grammatically correct and meaningful sentences. Now syntax. Syntax, as I told you, that today our major concern is on syntax. But actually, the syntax is something wide in range. It has different ways, because the sentences, they can be studied in so many ways. And I have taken the paradigmatic view. Today, for today's lecture, inshallah, we will deal with the syntagmatic view as well of the syntax. But today our lecture, now the further part of the remaining portion of my lecture would focus the syntax with a paradigmatic view, mean with respect to phrases and clauses. Now I would like to start with paradigmatic focus on the sentences. Not the syntagmatic focus, because the syntagmatic is all about the relation of words within a sentences. But over here, I am individually exploring the nature and the type of different combinations within a sentence. So I would like to start from sentence, because as we discussed earlier, that syntax is the study of sentence. So we should be clear that what sentence is. There are certain definitions, like a sentence is basically a string of words that follow the grammatical rules of a language. Mean some certain words, they are combined, they are stringed together according to the grammatical rules of that language. For example, if I am using Urdu language, then I have to follow the grammatical rules of Urdu language to make sentences in Urdu. Mera watan Pakistan hai. What kind of hai ending? Why not Mera watan Pakistan hai? Because I know that hai is used for plural objects. So, मेरे वतन में 5 दरिया हैं. Now I cannot use है, I have to use हैं. So this way, mean the grammatical rules of a language, they tell me that what combination of words I can use, and then to make sentences. Secondly, sentence expresses a complete thought. Yes, this is the definition which is often given by different linguists, because sentence is different from phrase and clause only on one ground, that it gives a complete meaning. It expresses one complete thought within one complete sentence. Phrase is something which provides you with a chunk of thought, but it does not complete your thought. A clause does not complete your thought. But on the other hand, a sentence, it's a meaningful expression, and in one sentence you can express one complete thought. Now, a sentence, another perspective with respect to sentence. What is a sentence? A sentence is made up of phrases. At very least, a sentence contains a verb phrase, also known as the predicate, and a subject. Means subject sentence, it is composed of subject and verb, or subject and predicate. And predicate, it is composed of verb phrase. In verb, within verb phrase, there can be a single verb, or there can be combination of verbs plus some other words to make a verb phrase. Now, there are certain views about the study of sentences, that when smaller structures enter into combinations, some consideration must be given to the relationship holding between them within that combination. For example, now birds fly. Now this, I know that this structure, birds fly, it is commonly having to mean a simplest structure, that birds is a noun and fly is a verb. So it is the simplest structure is a noun plus verb, or a subject plus a predicate. The combination is a larger structure called a sentence, because whenever we combine words we get larger structures than the words. So the study of such larger structures is known as makes sentences, and this study is known as syntax. Now within the sentence, both words have a form and a function. As I mentioned in previously, that a sentence is something which is not only a grammatical correct, but also it should convey certain meaning. Now what does I mean by this? Now look at a sentence. If I say, sleepless, colorless ideas sleep furiously. Now my grammatical rules are perfect. Sleepless ideas, subject, sleep furiously, predicate, a verb and an adverb. So what is wrong according to the grammar? Because I am using the correct subject word order, I am using the correct forms of verb, and there is nothing wrong according to the grammar. So this is why not, but this is still a sentence, a correct English sentence. Yes, because it does not convey any meaning. Sleepless, colorless ideas, they sleep furiously. What does I mean by this? Yes, I am leaving on one side the poetry and the poetical expressions and the poetical licenses they have. I'm talking about the general sentences. In general sentences, such expressions where their meanings are not conveyed, though the sentences that are following the grammatical rules, are still not considered as valid sentences. So a sentence should follow both features. It should be grammatically perfect, at the same time it should be meaningful. So meaningfulness and grammaticality are the two major aspects of sentences, are the conditions to make sentence. So because there are two conditions for a sentence, so it's sentences, inside that sentences, the words, they not only have forms, they also have functions. Forms with respect to grammar, functions with respect to make meaning. Now syntax study sentences with respect to two cardinal points. If we are having the paradigmatic syntax study of sentences, we will be concerned about the forms of sentences as well as the function of sentences. Now the forms of sentences, what do I mean? I mean by form of sentences something that is related to internal structure of phrases, because I know the sentences, they are composed of phrases. So internal structure of phrases, what is a noun phrase, what is a verb phrase, what is an adjectival phrase, how they are made up of, their forms. So that is all about with respect to forms of sentences. And with respect to function of sentences, I mean that at what position, what these noun verbs they are communicating, what meaning. For example, whether if they are at subject object position or at complement position or at modifier position, what the meaning, what is the function they are playing. So this way in sentence we will be dealing with these two aspects of the sentences. As I mentioned that with respect to syntax, we focus the sentence with respect to its functions and forms. First, I would like to elaborate what are the functions of sentences. What are some possible components according to function. Now, subject. Subject is the first possible function within a sentence. It is an obligatory element of a sentence because it specifies the entity about which we will say something. The doer of the action, the entity described, it is the leading thing, it is the first thing that is we are going to, that about whom we are talking, or the person who is doing something, or the instigator of an action, he is at subject place, or it is a subject place, whether it is an animate object or a inanimate object. In both cases, the doer of an action or something that is described takes the position of the subject. For example, look at the sentences. He is opening the door. This is the first sentence. Now over here, he is actually opening is an action that is done, but who is doing that action? He. So here he is occupying the subject place. Similarly, in the second place, Sarah finished her work. Now once again, Sarah, the doer of the action, or a person or an entity I'm talking about. I am talking about my friend Sarah. I'm telling you that Sarah finished her work. So now the main concern of my talk, my sentence, is the subject, that is Sarah. So Sarah is the occupying the subject function place. Now the second important functional place is of object. Object is also an obligatory element in a sentence, and it completes the meanings of a word or sentence because it is something on which usually an action is done. For example, he is opening the door. So now the door is something on which an action has been done. So the door is a object. I watch television. Now what I am watching? Television, definitely an object. I went to the party. Where I went? To the party. So party is also an object. Yes, we have specifications, like we have direct objects and sometimes we have indirect objects, but in both cases the objects, they are mean the obligatory part of the sentences, and they have an important function to play within the sentence. Now the next important functional place is occupied in sentences is by subject or object complement. They are also obligatory elements, but what do they do? What I mean by object and subject complements? I mean something that adds a description, mean whether it is the description of a subject or whether it is a description of an object. If there is an additional information with subject and object, then that is known as subject or object complement. If it is with subject, subject complement. If it is with object, then it is object complement. So these functions also receive the names of attributes and predicatives, like they became angry. Now angry is something which I am talking about. Who became angry? They. So angry is telling me something about the subject, so it is a subject complement. So this way we can have the additional information about subject and object within sentences, that we can call them as complement because they have a complement function. Then the next is a role of a modifier. Modifier is an optional element in sentence, and what do? They adds additional information there with respect to nouns that specifies a noun. Sometimes in English we call them as different things. I mean some additional information that is provided with respect to noun, like Ali. Ali is absent today. Now my sentence is complete, but when in commas I put some additional information about who is Ali, like this: my best friend. And who is my best friend? He is Ali. So I am giving certain additional information about Ali, about the subject. So this kind of additional information, it is known as the modifier, because it modifies the information about the noun, about the subject. Like another example I can give you, telling some people outside my country, Quaid-e-Azam, the founder of Pakistan, is my favorite leader. Now the founder of Pakistan is an additional information I am giving to tell that who Quaid-e-Azam is. Quaid-e-Azam is my favorite leader is enough, but to tell who Quaid-e-Azam is, I say the founder of Pakistan. So this is an additional information, or the modifier, because they are modifying the information about the noun, so they have the modifying function. Then we have adverbials. Adverbials are again optional elements, and what do? Adverbials, they modify a verb, adjectives or adverb. mean they provide certain information, extra information. Children are playing in the garden. No, the garden, where the children are playing, this is the ground. There, though it is telling me the location, so it is an adverb of place. So this way the adverbial, they are also the parts of sentences. And finally, the most important elements inside the sentences, yes, verbs. Verbs, the doing, whether they are the doing words, whether they are the linking verbs, whether they are the auxiliary verbs. Well, verbs are always there. Without verbs, a sentence, we cannot make a sentence. So verbs, they are the most important element to make a sentence. Now they are playing outside, I'm watching television, Sarah is reading a book, she's playing cricket. Now everywhere I'm using certain doing words that are verbs, that are actions. So they have the most important role, they have the most important function within the sentences. Now to give you a brief summary of what possible components according to function are, what are the possible functions of sentences according to function. If you look at this, the first type is subject and verb, here I have subject, verb, object, complement and adverb. So over here, someone was laughing. Someone, subject, was laughing is only an verb. Then subject, verb, object, another possibility for making a sentence. Now what can be there? My sister, subject, enjoys, verb, parties, object. Then subject, verb, complement, another possibility, they became angry. They, subject, became verb, angry, complement. Then subject, verb and adverb. I went to New York. Now I, subject, went, verb, to New York is adverb, telling me the place or location I went to. Then subject, verb and double objects. It means OO means that I am using within a sentence there are two objects. Mary gave John a book. Mary, subject, gave, verb, John a book. Now John, direct object, and a book, what she gave, a book, so another object, that is indirect object. So I have two objects. Another possibility is subject, verb, object and complement. Most people consider the book expensive. Most people, subject, consider, verb, the book, object, and what do they consider it? Expensive. Though expensive is a complement. Now expensive, what it is complementing to? Yes, it is complementing object. The book is expensive. Similarly, another possibility is subject, verb, object and adverb. You must put the toy downstairs. You, subject, must put. Now verb, the toy, my object, and downstairs it is, I am telling the place, adverb, adverbial place. So this is another combination. So these are some possible components of sentences with respect to functions. Now we will discuss sentences components with respect to form. As I mentioned, the syntax is study of sentences, and sentences, they are made up of phrases. So the question is, what is a phrase? A phrase is a part of a sentence. It is never a sentence, it is always a part of sentence, and it does not express a complete thought. This is why a phrase is different from a sentence. A sentence is something which expresses a complete thought, whereas a phrase does not express a complete thought. A phrase is a group of words that function as a single unit. Usually they can be substantiated by a pronominal form. Always in a phrase there are certain 2 to 3 words are there. There is no restriction, phrases can be longer, 1, 8, 10 words can be there, but minimum there are 2-3 words that make a phrases, and there are different parts of the phrases as well, and the types of phrases as well. Now what are the parts of the phrases? The first important part of a phrase is a nucleus or a head, or the central thing which is composing a phrase. all phrases have one word which is nucleus, the head. The head of a phrase determines the kind of phrase we have. For example, if it is a noun phrase, so the head would be a noun. If it is an adjective phrase, the head would be a noun. Adverbial phrase, head would be an adverb. Prepositional phrase, head would be a preposition. And a verb phrase, the head would be a verb. So this way, mean if whatever type of verb head we have in a phrase, it determines the nature of that phrase. Now, and what else we have in phrase? The surrounding information. Yes, there is a head, and all other relevant information about the head, that together makes a phrase. Now, types of phrases. There are basically 5 types of phrases that we will discuss today. Noun phrases, adjectival phrases or adjective phrases, adverb phrases, prepositional phrases, and verb phrases. So first we will start with noun phrases. Noun phrases. A noun phrase is a phrase that is made up of at least one noun or a pronoun. Pronoun or noun, they would act as same thing, and because they would carrying a noun, they would mean that noun, it should be a head. Then that noun, if the noun is the head, then that makes a noun phrase. Because sometimes you will see that in later cases you will see that there would be nouns, but they won't be head, so they won't be noun phrases. If the noun is head, then that would make a noun phrase. Now, what noun phrases they usually function as? Now, the noun phrases, they can be the subject within a sentence. For example, the man spoke loudly. Now, the man is a noun phrase composed of article the and noun man. So together they make a noun phrase, the man, and the man is at the subject place, so it has a function of subject. Noun phrase can be an object. I met your friend yesterday. Now, your friend is the object I met, and your friend is a noun phrase because there is a your and friend are two words. Friend is a noun, your is a pronoun, combination making a noun phrase. I'll see you after the class. Now, the class, again object, the article, class noun, article plus noun making a noun phrase. And then another function of noun phrase is that they can have a function of subject complement. For example, she's a doctor. Now, a doctor is a noun phrase because our article doctor is a noun, and this noun phrase actually it is complementing this subject. Who is a doctor? She is a doctor. Sarah is a doctor. Ali is a doctor. So because this additional information, it is complementing the subject. So subject complement, the noun phrases, they can be subject complement. And then adverbials. Yes, noun phrases can be sometimes play the function of adverbials. Anna got married last month. Now, if I say last month, last is adverb, month is noun, though head is a noun, so it should be a noun phrase. It is, but because this is last month is telling me the time, so it is playing the function of adverb of time. So this way the noun phrase, it is acting like an adverb. So this way the noun phrases, they are important parts of sentences. Next is adjective phrase. An adjective phrase is a phrase that is made up of at least one adjective, and adjective is the head of that phrase. Noun phrase, why I call it noun phrase? Because with an adjective there would definitely be a noun, but within that noun adjective combination, if head is noun, that is noun phrase. If a head is the adjective, then that would be an adjective phrase. Now adjective phrase, they usually function as modifiers. I saw a small child. Now a small child, a article, small, adjective, child, noun. So a small child, it is a modifier or it is small adjective phrase. Subject complements, she is not happy. Now happy is complementing she, so okay, it is a subject complement. Object complement, I consider Peter stupid. Now who is stupid? Peter is stupid, who is the object. So this adjective, it is describing the object. So this way we can have different types of adjective phrases. Adverb phrases. An adverb phrase is a phrase that is made up of at least one adverb, and that one adverb is the head of that phrase. So usually adverbial phrase, they function as mean adverbials, like and he was very late. Now very late, yes, very late is intensifying this, so this is adverb. Similarly, she works hard. So how hard is telling me about the manner she is working. So this is adverb of manner. So this way, this is an adverbial phrase. Prepositional phrases. A prepositional phrase is a phrase that is made up of at least one preposition, and usually that preposition is the head of that prepositional phrase. And the preposition, if that preposition is head, then that is prepositional phrase. And what are the functions of prepositional phrase? Prepositional phrase, they sometimes they work as adverbials. Anna got married in July. Now because preposition in is here, so it is a prepositional phrase, but its function is like adverb. I will discuss how it is functioning as adverb. Objects, I put the book on the table. Now on, our preposition is table, on the table, so prepositional phrase. For my mother, I bought a ring for my mother, so for my mother is a prepositional phrase. Make it clear that whenever in a noun phrase there is a preposition, then the preposition would be head, and that phrase would be categorized as a prepositional phrase before any other putting them into any other category. Now, as I mentioned, in previous example, I told you that prepositional phrase, they sometimes act as adverbs. An interesting fact is that these prepositional phrases, they do not only act as adverbs sometimes, but they also act like adjectives sometimes. Interesting, but how do we know that this prepositional phrase, this is either acting as a verb, adverb, or adjective? So there is a small test. I will explain it. Now, as I mentioned, that prepositional phrase, they can play a double role. The prepositional phrase, but sometimes they serve as the function as adverbs, and sometimes as adjectives. Now, to identify, we can have a small test. What is that test? First of all, identify the prepositional phrase. Within a sentence, identify, underline the prepositional phrase. Then make a question for that prepositional phrase. With respect to that prepositional phrase, make a question. If you make a question that is starting with which or what about, then that prepositional phrase is acting like a adjectival phrase. For example, the lady in the red dress is my teacher. Now look at this. This is a sentence. In the red dress, this is my prepositional phrase because in is a preposition. Now I will make a question. In the red dress, because my particular focus is on the red dress, in the red dress. So what question can I make? Which lady is your teacher? Which one lady? So which one? Again, so which one, if I am making a question of which one, then I can say that this in the red dress, it is actually the performing of a function of adjective. Similarly, the movie on the TV. Which one movie? Which one movie is boring? The movie on the TV. So on the TV, it is a prepositional phrase acting as an adjectival phrase. The ice in the juice was melting. Which ice was melting? The ice that was in the juice. So in the juice, this is a prepositional phrase but acting like an adjectival phrase. Now, how a prepositional phrase can serve as an adverbial phrase? Again, the same test. Underline the prepositional phrase within the sentence. Make a question. If your question starts like with when, how many, how often, then that prepositional phrase is serving the function of adverb. Yes, look at this example. The lady sitting in the next room. In the next room is my prepositional phrase because I have a preposition in over here. Now make a question. Where is the lady sitting? So the question starts from where? So if the question starts from where, so this prepositional phrase is adverbial phrase, functioning as adverbial phrase. The boys were on the lift. Make a question. Where were the boys? So on the lift. So where were the boys? Where question. So again, on the lift is a prepositional phrase functioning as adverb. They played in groups. How they played? Okay, how they played. So again, the question is getting started with how. So how, question starting with how. So it is a prepositional phrase working as adverb. Similarly, you can take sentences and can easily identify that that identify the prepositional phrase, underline it, and then make a question and categorize them, and you will definitely know that we get the idea that this prepositional phrase is acting like, functioning like what, whether as an adjective or as an adverb. I hope this test will make it quite clear to understand their nature and their functions. And finally, we have verb phrase, the most important part of the phrases or the sentences. Verb phrases is a phrase that is made up of at least one verb. An interesting thing is, within verb phrase you can find noun phrase, adjectival phrase, adverbial phrase, prepositional phrase. But at the very first level, when we identify, when we analyze a sentence, we categorize everything along with verb as verb phrase. And verbs, it acts as a head. Because it is the head of the phrase, so it is marked as the verb phrase. Now when verb is at verb phrase, it has different types, it has different categories, and different types of verbs are there. But because of the shortage of time, we will continue our lecture tomorrow again on this topic with verbs, and there more information, more knowledge about it, and more knowledge about the syntax. So what we have studied today? We today started with syntax, what syntax is, as the study of sentences, how the words they are arranged and combined to make sentences, and then what sentences are, what are their different parts. We studied different parts of sentences with respect to functions like subject, object, verb, object, complements, and verbs and adverbial. And then we studied finally moved into phrases. And we studied noun, adjectival, adverbial, and prepositional phrases, and we just started with verb phrases. But again, I would like to make it clear that whatever we are studying is actually with respect to paradigmatic structure of sentences. Inshallah, next week we will continue with this paradigmatic view, and we will start with the syntagmatic view of sentences, and we will further move towards the analysis of the sentences. So see you next in next lecture. Till then, Allah Hafiz.